Hi everybody. In this segment, we're back again at Sacred Heart Church. I actually did the first DVD and the cowboy training videos down here at the same church. It's one of the prettiest churches in the area. What's really wonderful about this church, it's the largest and the oldest church south of St. Augustine, Florida. And it was started around 1845 by the Jesuits. And what's really interesting is that every other church settled south of Tampa on a horizontal line from Tampa southward were started by the Jesuits that either left this church either by horse or by buggy. So it really has a fascinating history, and it's just an honor to be back here again and be working in the church. You know, whenever we're looking at a location like this and this magnificent beauty here, there are so many opportunities to take wedding photographs. You know, and we photographers so often come into a gorgeous church like this, and what do? We pick up our camera bags, we traipse off to the front of the church, and we take all of our photographs in the front of the church. It's interesting, even as we're here right now at the church, there's a board over here to my right that actually shows weddings that have taken place here in the church from like 1910 to like 2008. And it's interesting to see that just about every one of them were all taken up in the front, up at the front altar right here. But again, with the magnificence of the location, the stained glass windows, the pillars, everything going on around here, we can really get some cool other shots. Now let me say this about that, is that if I'm working in a location as magnificent as what we're standing in here today, I'm not going to drag the bride and the groom from location to location, from pillar to stained glass to pew to aisle to everything else around here. I'm really just trying to get maybe 5 or 6 what I call signature images for my coverages. These 5 or 6 signature images are only going to take me about maybe 10 minutes to cover with my bride and the groom. We do them quickly. I got kind of the place wired beforehand. I like to walk through the place to get some ideas and so forth. And then once we have the bride and groom for that 6 to 10 minutes, we're just going to bang through those images pretty quickly. What we're going to try to do today, though, is something different. What I'm going to try to do is just see how many different images we can produce among the surrounds here of Sacred Heart Church. So we might pull off, 10, 15, who knows how many we'll get through in our time that we're allotted here. But I just want to show you just how many different possibilities there are at a church, particularly here at Sacred Heart. So that's our goal today. So let's go ahead, and why don't we just stroll down the center aisle and let's just see how the whole church presents itself. So of course we got the beautiful front of the church right here. We see some things opening up here. That would have to be probably wide angle lens things, and for my taste, I'm probably going to do a lot of wide angle stuff here in the church. We come down here to the front of the church. The altar gets very beautiful. It's kind of dark for me. I might think about how I might want to light that up in the background here. Just something to be thinking about, because we have bright stained glass windows that we're going to have to balance with the church, or the darker area of the altar here. So we might want some additional illumination down there. So we have to keep that in mind when we're shooting. We come up here, and there's lots of stuff going on our left hand and our right hand side. We got the beautiful stained glass window up here, but what we have is kind of the musicians area right over here with the microphones and everything else. I don't know if I want to deal with that so much, because when I look over here, I really have kind of the unobstructed view. I have the same kind of the same kind of stained glass window architecture going on right here. I think it's pretty kind of shooting up this way. We got the pulpit up here too we can use, so I think that presents itself really nicely. The other thing I like to do as I'm walking to church is kind of walking, and then I like to turn around and look backwards and see how it's presenting itself to me as I'm really receding from the church. And of course, when we look back here, we have this beautiful, beautiful organ right here that's going to give us some really, really great composition for our images and so forth. Again, just kind of imagine in your mind's eye, and I'll kind of show it in the course of this video, but low camera position, wide angle lens with that whole pipe organ just up there in the background. Could be very, very cool. I think too, we might even wander our bride and groom up to the balcony area. I'll stay down here, and maybe we can even do some very, very cool things of them up with the pipe organ completely behind them. So all kinds of different possibilities. We also got some of the aisles. Let me go over this way here. And I think just looking up here, but I'm actually thinking not so much shooting from the front of the church to the back. The reason is because we have just a simple doorway in the background, so I'm probably thinking we'll end up at the back and we'll shoot to the front of the church and see if we can pick up one of the side altars or something like that. It's kind of my game plan. And then even all the way in the back of the church, I see the steps up to the balcony. It's this beautiful kind of a spiral staircase going all the way up, and I'm thinking there's a nice window there. We might be able to do some cool window light stuff, but what really intrigues me is that spiral staircase, and in my mind's eye, what I'm thinking right now is maybe fisheye lens, because the fisheye is going to give me all this curvature of field anyway, or I already have everything curving anyway. So I think the fisheye lens's curvature will be disguised by even the actual location that we're working in. Another thing too, if I'm looking over this way here, I might even put my groom, now again, imagine this, and we'll cover this again in our segments as we move through each one of them, but I'm looking at stained glass window, large chandelier, more triple stained glass window back here. I'm going to try to center up the light right over the groom's head, have the groom somewhere in here, and maybe pick up all of this right here for our couple, or for our groom. And again, we'll pull some other things off too, but the whole thing is to really, when you get into a church location that's different, or any kind of location that's different than what you're used to, or maybe you've never been there before, I really suggest that you do make the walkthrough and get your own brain juices flowing and just see what the possibilities are at this location. Let me say again, it's not about having the bride and groom and you moving them through 15 or 20 different shots. Remember, it's not about it's not about us, it's not about our studio on a wedding day, it's about the bride and the groom. And each and every one of us have to remember that when we're in places of worship that we work in regularly, or we're there only once or twice a year, or maybe we're there for our first time. I think it's interesting, there's, everybody's pretty fired up about wedding photography these days. People are getting their cameras and going out and shooting and, and making a little extra money doing their wedding photography. I think that's all well and good, but please, let's remember where we are. Let's respect the house of worships that we're working in, and at least let's keep the priests, ministers, and rabbis happy with us as wedding photographers so we can be welcomed back the next time too.